Hi everyone, it's Christine. So we are on my personal page because my first attempt to work the Facebook Live over on Indivisible didn't function. So rather than scramble, I redirected the Indivisible people over here. So thank you for joining. We do this call every month. And the topics are chosen based on the messages I get over on the book page. So tonight we're talking about 3 ways to shift your mind midstream for instant freedom and happiness, which I got a little bit of guff for over on the page as an overpromise, a little hypey, but I will tell you that my personal experience has been nothing less than that by using these techniques. Some of them are coming out of really long-rooted spiritual traditions, and some are like, what? That's how easy it is? So we're going to talk about that, and then spend a little bit of time talking about social rejection. Like, what happens when you get blackballed from a group or rejected by a group, and what might you do practically to counteract that? So as we get going, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to invite everybody who's not driving to pause and sit for a couple of minutes in silence and begin to breathe. For many people, this will be the first time today that they just did nothing and tuned into the way their breath is coming in and out of the body. So just sit there with that. Feel the air expanding the back of your body, how it fills the lungs, how that in turn stretches the body from the inside. And on the exhales, how you can empty out and release everything. Just letting everything from the day pass out of you, any worries, any distractions, and coming right into this place and this conversation. Okay? All right, great, thank you. So, I have made visual aids, and they're not fancy. There are 3 techniques we're going to talk about today, and hopefully they will be so easy that you'll be able to remember them in a time of crisis or in a time of difficulty and apply them in order. They are switch the channel, open your heart, and come into the now. I even wrote a little piece of paper. Switch the channel, come into your heart, and come into the now. So when I say switch the channel, I want to back up and talk a little bit about the nature of mind. When we are in drama, when we're in anxiety, when we're in fear, even if we're in a loving state, but we're really caught up in the story that we have, then we are in the part of the mind that is ego. We're in the mind. And when you get silent or you get into meditation practice, and sometimes even by accident, just laying in your bed at night or driving on the highway, you'll notice that there's part of you that is kind of looking down at the ego and the mind racing around and going, oh, poor Christine, or poor Tony, or poor Shiva. Look at they're struggling with today. And it's just this calm witness consciousness that is always there. It's always present, watching your thoughts. So the mind and the witness consciousness are existing in a continuous way. And I have drawn this little picture, again, not exactly the artist of the century, but you can see sort of a mental model. And because some people are, learners that need a picture, this is what it's saying. That the witness consciousness is always with us. It's calm, it's wise, it's sitting back there in the background with this abiding bigness and compassion. That's the part of your being that is tapped into the universal flow of everything, that's tapped into the connection and the ether between people. And then this thought-driven mind, the ego mind, is the place of drama and anxiety, where the mind is racing and all of that stuff. So I think of those things now as two channels. I'm going to back up a little bit to tell you about, what my model was before this hit me. My model was that enlightenment, or becoming like a really spiritual person, was a progressive linear pathway where, like, I started here and I worked really, really hard, and then at some day in the future it would all click and I would get it, and then I would be enlightened and I'd walk around like, oh, even my chores would be imbued with some sort of holiness, and I would just have a beatific smile all the time, but that it was the result of a lifetime of work. But what this model says of these two minds is that they are two channels that are always coexisting, and that you can choose at any moment to just switch the channel. Does it sound too easy? Try it. Just try it for 1 minute. In practice, say like you have a conflict, or it's the middle of the night, or you're on some sort of internal rant. Let's practice for a minute switching the channel. For me, it's literally a feeling of softening the muscles around the eyes and letting them sink back into the head, and trying to bring my entire awareness into the back of the mind, almost as if I'm bringing it into that consciousness up here, and I'm zooming way out of the drama that my mind is engaged in, and I'm letting the witness consciousness register. Switch that channel and go, oh, interesting. You know the actual answer. So behind this whole exercise, this whole engagement, is a deep belief that your wisdom self, when you can access it and get out of the drama, always knows what's right for you. Always knows what's right in a situation, always knows what the reality of a thing is, and that witness gets occluded by shoulds and programming that wants you to get dragged into the ego story. So flip the switch. Now I've been meditating for a while, and I have to say it is instant in the moment once you've practiced it. Like once you've begun practicing and flipping the switch over time, then you can do it even in the middle of some incredible conflict. So what I would say is practice it all day. Whenever you get a moment, what would it feel like to flip from ego mind into your deeper witness consciousness all day long? In a conflict, kids bugging you, budgets. I was on the phone this morning with the California Franchise Tax Board for an hour, and you know what? It even worked there. Just flip the switch. We had a very pleasant interaction. So you can practice it all day in the context of your regular life. And of course, I'm going to advocate meditating, because you begin to see that the witness consciousness is there and how crazy your mind is, and you get to understand that finite difference and how to flip the channel. Last thing on this particular point, the first of the 3 keys, is there is a form of extended silence meditation, Vipassana, where you literally sit for 7, 10, or 21 days, and you get this experience in an incredible locked-in way. I'll put a link up at the end of this to resources if you want to go and practice the deeper Vipassana. So, the first of the 3 keys, switch the channel. Again, switch the channel. All right. The second thing is a practice of that I call opening your heart. That is called in many traditions opening your heart. Now, what this is basically saying, it's predicated on the idea that we are in choice in how we're reacting. So it's not exactly switching the channel, but it's making a decision that when my jaw gets tight or I get clenched about a subject, that I'm not going to react that way. Shiva said, nah, I'm just not going to react that way when we're talking this morning. I don't want to live in that negative energy, in that tight energy. I don't want to be that person in the world. So I'm going to choose not to. And when I feel myself clenching or tightening, I'm going to do an expansion in my body and go, nah, I don't want conflict. I choose opening my heart. Okay. That's the second one. And then the third one is coming into now. Now, you know, the incredible teachings of Ram Dass and the classic book, Be Here Now, there is no other moment but now. My son did this funny video about it now being, it's nowing all the time. Now, that's all you have. You know, Eckhart Tolle writes about this, but doing it in the moment of conflict, doing it when something is really up in your body or up between you and another person is sometimes a little bit inaccessible. So the way that it's been working for me is to use my body and use my breath in order to come into the now. So what am I actually feeling? How does this shirt feel on my skin? And how is my knee hitting this table? And how is the breath moving in my body? Dancing does a great job of this. Exercising does a great job of this, where you just have to be present with what is in your senses. What that helps you to do is say, what is real right now? And what is me being in a very mind-driven story? So come into the now. So when I put those things together, switch the channel, open your heart, come into the now. Switch the channel, open your heart, come into the now. Switch the channel, open your heart, come into the now. Switch the channel, open your heart, come into the now. It can be done in an instant. It can be done in a board meeting. It can be done in traffic. It can be done on a phone call. It can be done in the grocery store. Switch the channel, open your heart, come into the now. So I thought, you know, like I could get hang tags or Post-its and have it in my car, hanging on the rear view mirror, or have it Post-it noted on my mirror in the morning or something. But for now, switch the channel, open your heart, come into the now. So I'm going to keep those thoughts as we go into the next round of topic, because we're going to need them in the conversation around social rejection.